Guys, I am distraught. My heart is hurting. That was a tough loss. That's probably the toughest loss of the season, for me at least, from what I was expecting, from what happened, for what that implied for the Jazz now and for the future. Let's talk about it. It's the Hoops Nerd postgame show. All right, guys, let's give a shout out to our sponsor, Prize Picks, before we get into this. This is the saddest ad read you're ever going to hear. Go to prizepicks.com. Promo code HoopsNerd. You could bet on the Jazz and probably bet the under on the points. If you're betting on Lowry, bet the under on threes. If you're betting on Kessler, bet the under on rebounds. If you're betting on Sexton, bet the over on turnovers or whatever. At least you can turn this sadness into winnings in some way. But anyways, if you want to go sign up for promo code for Prize Picks, go to go to prizepicks.com, use promo code HoopsNerd. It is actually a lot of fun and you'll enjoy it. I do too. It does definitely make the games more interesting. And you know what? If you do your research, you can do really well. But do your research, guys. All right, let's talk about this loss. What a just absolutely horrible, terrible, no good, very bad loss for the Utah Jazz. They needed this win really badly. This, in a lot of ways, would have secured, well, I don't know if secured, but it would have really put the Jazz in a driver's seat towards conveying that pick to Oklahoma City, which anyone who watches this show knows I am very pro that. Now, I know there's a contingent of Jazz fans out there that just want the pick. You know, they want the top 10 pick in this draft. And that may be where we're going. So it may be doing lots of research on late first round and early first round for this channel. But man, I'm telling you, I'm so bummed right now. It hurts a lot in my chest. Interestingly enough, oh, I got to make me small. I'm not even on my game tonight. I'm not on anything tonight. I need to get on Ambien or something. But anyways, Utah still sits at 11. So yay. 3 for 7 in their last 10. It hurts so much. Toronto's winning since getting Kelly Olynyk. So maybe Kelly Olynyk really was making a big difference. I don't know. He wasn't helping defensively, that's for sure. But Utah is now 3-7. They've lost 3-7 in their last 10. Such a bummer, guys. I really wanted this win for the Jazz. Interestingly enough, they're still a half game up on the Atlanta Hawks, who are now have won 2 in a row since trading Trae Young. It's just Jazz's luck, the Jazz's luck to get the Atlanta Hawks after they trade Trae Young and they actually get better, you know? Dre, technically we can still get flag if we suck 2 years in a row. LOL. Just going to have to bite the bullet in 2026. All right, let's talk about it. It's where the Jazz are going. Oh, look, I was looking at new glasses. The ads work. I'm so bummed right now, guys. I don't even. This one hurts. This felt like a playoff loss to me. Like a playoff elimination loss is what it felt like. So, in reality, this doesn't change what the Jazz are doing next year, but it does have influence on 2026. So this also influenced this year. You know, I mean, let's just talk about it. I have been talking all year, that I think the Jazz are going to capture the flag. All signs pointed to it. I wrote about it. I gave it to the members only video. You can watch the member. If you want to join the channel and watch that video, go ahead and watch it. We got to do a lot of pray to convey, Brad Stoker. Thank you for the $2. I really appreciate it. Shaking fist at Quinn. Dang you, Quinn. Dang you. All you bring is pain. All you bring is suffering and disappointment to me. Whether you're coaching my team or coaching against it, you bring me nothing but suffering. Thank you, Brad. I really appreciate it. But anyways, you can go and watch the video. I talked about it. Literally every single sign has pointed to the Jazz going young to building through the draft, getting distressed assets and either trading those assets or building them for the future. And I'm telling you, I mean, it's one of those times where I guess I can just pat my own back, but I've been talking about this all year. All signs point to it. It's what they're gonna do. So just, you know what? It's time for me to just accept it. I'm still gonna hopefully. I still would like them to convey this pick. I really would like to. I mean, I know this mock draft. Look, who do the Jazz get at number? If they get to 10, Reed Shepherd. I mean, he's a pretty good defensive player, but I don't know. I will say, look, Stephon Castle at 12. I love his physical kind of makeup. He's 19. He's 6'6". He's strong, athletic. 1.2 steals per game. Why does Kyle Filipowski get green and Castle gets red? I guess because Reed Shepherd steals the ball like crazy. He is a good little defender, but he's just not very big. But anyways, Utah now sits at 11 still, and they do have a really difficult schedule. This was supposed to be one of the ones you win, and the next two games are on the road. I mean, Dirty Jazz, yeah, they've got Orlando next. Orlando's pretty good. I mean, they're a good defensive team. So that's no slouch, and they've got Paolo Banchero. If you've got your prize picks, bet the over on Paolo. I tell you that much. Bet the although you know what? I tell you what, we do have Taylor Hendricks doing really well. So that's one to watch because they may put Taylor Hendricks on Banchero. So watch for someone like Cole Anthony to have a big night. They always do. But Utah has a terrible defense. Really, the one you want to do on the opposing team against the Jazz is the over on threes with their scorers. If there's an over pick on threes against the Jazz, they will hit them. They just do. So, let's see. But anyways, so I guess let's just talk about the perspective of this. It does change this year. Obviously, if they're in the bottom 10, they get a pick. And so, maybe there's someone they like. Do they like one of these guys at this point? I mean, I really like Alexander Sarr. I mean, I still think there's some question marks with him. He's one of those guys I could see him being really awesome, and then I could see him also being just a huge disappointment. Like he's got a little bit of a hitch in his shot. Maybe he never figures it out, and maybe he doesn't. But he also has a chance to be really special, and so that's where your scouting comes in, and the Jazz have to bring guys into camp and watch them. Zachary Reiseker, he's got good size, can absolutely shoot the threads off the basketball. He's great. And there's some potential defensively there, and he's only 18. I get a little worried about these young prospects like this with body, who are like a lot of potential and they have length and size. But the thing that's very, very promising about him is just he's shooting the lights out. He's shooting like 46% from three. So what's up with France, by the way? Both of these guys are French. So number one pick last year is obviously Victor Wembanyama. This year it's going to be Alexander Sarr, also French. Zachary Reiseker, also French. And it's going to be 1 and 2. That's kind of crazy. Top two picks 2 years in a row. That's going to be wild. And I think Alexander Sarr will go number one because he does have great defensive potential. He really does. And you know what? You know what I like about him too? He's got nasty. Like he's got like, I'm going to dunk on you or I'm going to block the shot and then I'm going to stare you down and I'm going to step over you like Iverson over Ty Lue. He's got that kind of nasty to him, which I like, which honestly, could you give a little of that to Walker Kessler, please? Although he had a few moments tonight, but so anyways, Utah may be getting that top 10 pick this year, but then that's what brings the scary stuff, the scaries, because next year it's top 10 protected as well. And I think for pretty darn sure the Jazz are going to be going into the top 10 next year. Just expect it. It's going to happen, guys. I'm warning you now. They are going to be bottom 10 next year. They're going to trade Jordan Clarkson. They're going to trade Colin Sexton. They might trade Walker Kessler based off of what we're seeing and the development and kind of the style of play that they like to do. And then I tell you what, I mean, I know some of the people in the comments are like, stop trading the team, stop trading everyone. I'm telling you, I based off of what we've seen, I don't know. I think it's like 75% chance they sign Markkanen. And I think there's a 25% chance with other teams having huge assets, they look at possibly making a move. Especially after nights like tonight, where it's just like, man, where are you, Lowry Markkanen? You're our only hope. So anyways, but that's the thing is next year I think they will be bad, but the following year, this is where it's like bad in my opinion because you give 2 years of development to Keontae George, you give 2 years of development to Taylor Hendricks, all of a sudden they're going to be playing pretty well. They'll have their sophomore slump next year, yada yada. Year 3 is when you might see them really take off, and they know the offense and things like that. And they've had a lot of experience, and that's when things start to go really, if they're good players. And so, and the thing is in 2026, it's not top 10 protected, it's top 8, and that's tough, man. You get into the gambling ring, you get into like the prize picks and stuff, those numbers matter. There's a big difference between being top 8 and top 10. Just ask the Jazz last year when they tried to drop in the standings. They couldn't get lower than 9. I mean, they should have if they could have if they'd have rested Markkanen. They played Markkanen 3 of those last 10 games, and I think they won like 1 or 2 of those. So they could have, and they didn't. So it's hard to do. It's not as hard to be in the bottom 10 as it is to be bottom 8. It's just hard to be one of the 8 worst teams in the league. It really is. If you have talent and with a coach like the Jazz have with Will Hardy and how he gets the most out of these guys. I know defensively things aren't good right now, but it's going to get better. They may trade John Collins too. So next year might be really interesting. I think all bets are off this offseason. It's Taylor Hendricks and Keontae George to me are like the only 100% going to be on the Jazz unless like something crazy happens where Luka Doncic says I want out, and then the Jazz probably look at some sort of trade. But otherwise, I think those are the only ones, and I think Lowry is the most likely third to stay on the team next year. But outside, and then you go from there, and it just is a huge drop off. I mean, I guess Walker Kessler is number 4 least likely to be traded, and then after that, Chris Dunn 5, Chris Dunn 5. Chris Dunn might be 4, Walker 5. I don't know. And then after that, it's kind of like, who knows? Who knows? Bryce Sensabaugh probably stays, obviously. So, anyways, maybe I should make a video like that. That's a pretty good video. That's probably a pretty good SLC Dunk article, to be honest. All right, let's go through this a little bit. Might not be quite as long because I am heartbroken to the max. I wanted this win so badly. Lowry Markkanen, 26 minutes. He played terrible. And I know I'm trying. You guys, here's the thing. No one wants Lowry Markkanen to play better than I do. No one does. I want Lowry Markkanen to be playing all-star level right now because I want to convey the pick to Oklahoma City. I had someone say the hate from, you're hating on Lowry Markkanen. It's getting too much. Or people in the comments saying, like, why do you hate on Lowry Markkanen? Well, because he's playing like this. And I need him to not play like this. I need him to play at an all-star level, and he's not. The last 15 games or so have not been good, and we need him to be good. We do. I want to convey the pick. 26 minutes, 4 for 13. He was a minus 23. He was the worst plus minus of the entire team. I think we've talked about this. Markkanen is also giving his kind of audition for getting a big time contract and being a core part of the future. I mean, there were people that were like making fun of me on Twitter, like, and believe me, I saved the tweets. I saved a lot of them, and I should have saved them more. But I said, once they make some of these moves, if they go young with Markkanen, they can 100% get a top 10 pick, probably top 5. And tonight proves it. I mean, come on. It proves it. And so I think that's in that way, I think they can sign Larry Markkanen. And honestly, you've got to give your money to somebody. Danny Ainge is not going to not sign him just because he hasn't been playing well to end the season. And who knows, maybe he goes on a hot streak and things turn around the end of the year. The Jazz, I mean, not conveying the pick is not set in stone. They're still, after just such a crappy performance tonight, they're still at 11. You know, they're only a half game back of Chicago, who lost tonight. So uh, it's not the end, but this was a bad one. This was a bad one, and this was just probably one of Markkanen's worst games as a Jazz man. Just the need to win and just the performance. The shooting is just not there. It's just been really rough the last 15 games. He had a great game against the Spurs, and then it's back to these subpar performances. And I'm not hating on him. We're just being honest. It's not been good. And so if you want to convey this pick, you need Larry Markkanen to play well. He's not playing very well. And there's some sign. I mean, there's a few things that is showing that he just can't quite do. He cannot take the ball and really just take over a game. He just can't do it. It really is 100% dependent on other players on the team getting him the ball. And, Tony Jones quote tweeted me on Twitter, like, because I was frustrated. I was like, I need Markkanen to stop having these starts to these games where he's not impacting the game at all. Because honestly, as bad as his offense has been, his defense has been just as bad. It's not been very good. And Markkanen's value is him being just that hyper efficient sniper from three. But when you're going 0 for 6 like this and you're not contributing from two, it's rough because his defense is about average at best. And there are nights where it's not very good. He's not as quick side to side. It's why I think his best spot is usually at the 4, which brings up some, interesting questions for the Jazz long term with Taylor Hendricks if he keeps developing. And if Taylor Hendricks turns into something special next year, things get kind of interesting because I don't think long term Larry Markkanen is at his best at the small forward. Yes, he can do it. Yes, he can do it. But then I don't want to hear people complain about defensive issues, because he's not, I mean, he's not bad, but he's not great either. So who knows? And like I said, I'm trying not to be hard on him. I'm trying to be very fair. But if he's not knocking down these open threes, it gets really rough for this Jazz team real fast. And that's part of what happened tonight. Taylor Hendricks, I'm really excited about it. I tell you what, man, look at that 2 for 4 from 3. I talked about this. Once that 3 starts falling, get ready for him to start being a real impact player. The Jazz get destroyed tonight, and he only was a -9. That's when you know it's a bad loss, when you're happy about a -9. In a game the Jazz lost by 27, he was -9. The Jazz have something here in Taylor Hendricks. They really do. It's really nice to see. Now, he's got to develop. He's got to get better. He's got to get a better handle. He's got to be a little more. His footwork has to improve. We've seen the traveling and things like that. But man, is he getting better by the night. And so, let's see. John Collins got to return to Atlanta, and it's too bad that he just didn't really play very well. 2 for 8 from the field, 0 for 3. It felt like the Hawks kind of knew how to guard him. And, have experience knowing, what to do. And he just didn't play particularly well. 0 for 3 from 3. No one on the Jazz could really shoot it well tonight besides Colin Sexton, I guess. Keontae shot it well. Taylor Hendricks. The young guys shot it well. And then Bryce Sensabaugh. So all the young guys shot it well. I know that doesn't mean they didn't play well. And by the way, the big story of this one, too, was the turnovers. Now, giving 5 turnovers to John Collins is kind of crazy because he did not cause these. Colin Sexton had 3, but he should have been attributed with 4 or 5. That's why sometimes when they mark these turnovers, I'm like, who does this? Who decides? This, I was thinking about it. It reminds me of how when Rudy Gobert would bobble the ball and lose it or something, and it would be a turnover to like Mike Conley or Donovan Mitchell or whoever passed it to him. And I think that was legit part of why some of the players got tired of passing it, because he'd bobble the ball. And then on Twitter, you'd have Jazz fans screaming, pass him the ball, get him the ball, he's wide open. Well, then he'd bobble it and lose it, and the player who passes to him gets the turnover. And believe me, the players watch that. They know it. They know it. And so, I don't know. But 5 turnovers for John Collins is bad. And the Jazz overall just turned the ball over way too much. 17 times, but there was like 7 in the first quarter. Credit to the Jazz that they turned it around in the second, but they just couldn't get stops, and then it was garbage time for most of the second half. So, doesn't really matter. Colin Sexton was driving me absolutely bonkers in the first quarter. Somehow manages to be efficient for the night. 29 minutes, 8 for 16, 3 for 6 from 3. This is the stuff where it's a little deceiving because he was just sleepwalking in that first 10 minutes of the game. It was like, are you awake, Colin? I mean, come on, man. Uh 22 points. I mean, he has improved, and so every player deserves a little bit of a mulligan here and there. 22 points, 6 steals, which is pretty impressive. But I think these numbers are a little deceiving. This game was lost in the first quarter when the Jazz just could not score and just looked really bad. Keontae had a bad shooting tonight, but it is bad shooting night, at least from 2 tonight. Honestly, it felt like that Wembanyama game really kind of got in his head a little bit. But he does go 4 for 9 from 3, which is nice to see, with 6 assists. So good to see from Keontae, who's just kind of developing and learning. 14 points. So obviously you want to see that get better. One thing that'll be fun and interesting about next season, even when the Jazz are losing, it's going to be a lot of looking at the Jazz young players and seeing the development and getting kind of enjoyment out of that, is watching Key get some signature moves. That's one thing that each NBA player, especially the stars, have to do. You have to kind of find your spots. I mean, Devin Booker has made a career now of getting to that corner of the paint and just having that little mid-range pull-up. That thing is a layup for him. And Keontae's got to find shots like that. What's his shot, That same shot that Booker has, it seems like he got help from Chris Paul, who did the same thing. And I think Keontae can just figure some of that stuff out. He's just got to learn some control. But I think one of the things that's going to help him out is this offseason. I do think Jordan and Colin are probably going to get moved. And you've got to get the ball in his hands to just develop. And then Bryce Sensabaugh, I mean, I wonder if Bryce can be that number 2. Can he play shooting guard? It is interesting to think about. The question for that is defense, because this Jazz team needs more defensive talent. And Sensabaugh can absolutely shoot the threads off, but can he defend? So that's going to be interesting to see. You guys mentioned it before. The other, it was Markkanen had a bad night, and Jordan Clarkson as well. Jordan Clarkson was terrible tonight. And I know he ends up with 8 assists. This is what's crazy is he's had these bad nights, and then he'll have these big assist numbers. He had the same thing where he shot a low percentage like this the other day, and he had like 10 assists. And, the assist is great. That's great. The 2 for 10 is just brutal. And then another night where he can't hit a 3, 0 for 3. Between Jordan Clarkson and Lauri Markkanen, they go 0 for 9 from 3 tonight. The fact the Jazz got even relatively close in this was pretty impressive. Gabriel Bodley, sorry for not mentioning. Member for 11 months. You're freaking awesome, Gabriel. Lauri is showing things that are not great. No, and I agree. I mean, yes, he is a great shooter, great off-ball player. It is so... I mean, one of the things that's a little tough is that it is so dependent on other players. It is so incredibly dependent on everyone else to set him up. It reminds me of Rudy Gobert a little bit. It's just like it's just different. Like Rudy Gobert, everyone's like, get him the ball. Why aren't we getting Rudy Gobert the ball inside more? He's wide open. Now the same thing with Lauri Markkanen. It's like, why aren't we running more plays for Lauri Markkanen? Run more plays. Get him the ball. Come on, he's your best player. Get him the ball. Well, they got him the ball. They got him the ball. And that's what happened. He's got to be better. He's got to be a dominant shooter. He has to be. This is the big boys now. He's not a rookie in Chicago anymore. He is not a reclamation project in Cleveland. And, he had his breakout year last year where he's most improved player. Now you have the hardest thing. This is the hardest thing to do in the NBA, in the league, going from good to great. It's the hardest thing to do. And not a lot of players are able to do it. I think Lauri can definitely get there. I think he can be Klay Thompson. But man, he's got to show more signs because Klay is getting that pull-up 3. He's not hitting pull-up 3s at a high rate. That's a thing. It matters. And he's shooting. I hope he's not sub 40 from catch and shoot. I think between last night and tonight, probably fine, but he needs to be a sniper. He needs to absolutely be just a guy that makes the other team just terrified to leave open. And if they do leave him open, he's got to knock it down. You've got to knock it down. That is just, It's just the way it goes. It doesn't get any easier. The greats are the ones that can do it no matter what. You know, they find a way. They find a way to get open. They find a way to get that ball. They find a way to get to their spots. What are your spots, Markkanen? Get to them. Get that ball. Demand it. Get those shots you know you can knock down. You know, KD goes in that wing and he gets that ball and he has that just kind of mid-range game and he's just lethal with it. You know, you can just look at each player and you can just kind of figure out this is their game. This is what they do. LeBron, when he was in his prime and he still kind of can do it, if he finds even an inch of lane, he is getting to that basket and he is going to cram it on you. And if you somehow stop him, he has that surgical vision where he is finding the open man. You know, Markkanen's got to kind of figure those things out, and so it's really tough to go from good to great. It's really tough, and we're finding out if he can do that this offseason. He might just be really good, and that's fine. And that might be, enough to help the Jazz get a top 5 pick next year. I really freaking want it. I really want it. In fact, I want to go to Gavoni, and I'm going to bring this up. Something he tweeted. They already have, let's see, here we go. They already have the Jazz predicted at 10 next year. And that's with the Jazz not even making any move. They have the Jazz at 10. Let's see here. Obviously, Cooper Flagg's number 1, Ace Bailey 2. Common, I was looking at this guy. He is 7'6". Jaleel Bethia might be the best scorer. He looks, this draft is great. Hugo Gonzalez is just, a sniper. And he's 6'6" in Spain. You've got Dylan Harper, son of Ron Harper. That's him right here. He and I think Ace Bailey are going to Rutgers. So a lot of people watching Rutgers basketball next year. I can tell you that. I haven't looked up VJ. I haven't looked up Trey Johnson or Igor. I did look up Drake Powell. He is 6'8". He is an absolute head to the rim athlete, and he looks like he can shoot it. I tell you what, if you can get that guy at 10, that tells you what this draft can do. You get lucky and you get Cooper Flagg or Ace Bailey. Cooper Flagg is going to be a transformational defender. He really is. He's not going to be Wembanyama level, but he is going to be awesome. Awesome. And I tell you what, the idea of like Cooper Flagg next to Taylor Hendricks is pretty exciting. But we got to capture the flag to do that. Let's see. Jordan Clarkson. All right. Chris Dunn. 15 minutes for Chris Dunn. Did not really impact the game much. 3 assists and 1 for 5 from the field. Not a great Chris Dunn game. Not a lot to say there. The defense wasn't quite good enough tonight. No one on the Jazz really played all that well, to be honest. It was just a bad game. Walker Kessler played 29. I actually thought he played pretty well tonight. 14 points, 12 rebounds. This is what makes me happy. This right here. Please. And actually, there was a couple times on offense in the first half I got pretty happy because I was like, oh, there's the dominant inside guy we've been hoping for in Walker Kessler. And he showed it. 12 rebounds tonight. Nice to see. 2 blocks. This was actually a good Walker Kessler game. If it's NBA 2K, he got like boosted on like the grades, when you're doing that. But anyways, nice to see Walker play well. There's still times where I just want to see him be physically more dominant. I just want to see it. Please, Walker. Please be more physically dominant. Get some nasty. It's okay. Bryce Sensabaugh, not a lot to say. He played 17. He did knock down those 2 threes. He's looking pretty okay. Sorry. He's looking okay to me. It's pretty nice to see. I think he's giving you actually pretty interesting minutes. And he can absolutely shoot it. And if he can defend, if he can really learn to defend, it's going to be a big time offseason for Bryce Sensabaugh, because what if he can lose 10 pounds and gets quicker and, things could get interesting. I don't know. Could get really interesting. Taylor Horton-Tucker came in garbage time. There's not a lot to say there for that. So that's kind of everything, guys. But this draft, obviously, this is the upcoming draft. the one this year. I mean, Gavoni's already tweeting about next year. That's what tells you everything. That's why conveying this pick is better. Gavoni's tweeting this out on the 26th. That was yesterday. And he's already talking about 2025. We haven't even gotten to the 2024 draft. That's how kind of underwhelming this draft is. There's just not. I mean, Ron Holland shot like 29, 30% from three in the G League. It was not an impressive year. Cody Williams is the guy I really like. Of all the, I think I'd pick him number one. I really do. 6'8". He can defend 1 through 4. Brother of Jalen Williams. Awesome pedigree there. He looks like he can absolutely shoot it. He looks like a great potential wing. You know, is he going to be the same level as maybe Cooper Flagg? And who knows? Maybe Cooper Flagg's a bust. But Cody Williams looks nice. If I was picking anybody in this draft, he'd be my first choice. And then maybe Alexander Sarr. And then that's when things get interesting. Do you go Reisiker? Jacoby Walters, pretty nice. I've been watching him with Baylor a little bit. It seems like they have Baylor on ESPN like all the time. And I'm at the gym watching basketball, and I try to watch him. He's pretty interesting. The percentages aren't, let's see. I opened a new window. The percentages aren't perfect. Look, 38% from the field, 33 from three. So it would be nice to see him shoot that at a higher clip, especially the 2-point shots. The 2-point shot sometimes is a big deal. Like, why are you not getting to the rim? Are you not playing in transition? Do you not have a very good touch around the rim? That's the question. But he does look like an NBA player. He does look like one. Montes Bucelis, I don't know. I haven't seen a lot. I don't love it. I mean, he is 6'11" at shooting at small forward, so I don't know. It's going to be an interesting draft. Stephon Castle's a guy I really like. I really do like him. What do they say here? What's he shooting? So he's shooting 40. I mean, that's the thing. Look, he's shooting 46%. Jacoby Walters shooting 38. He plays big. He's 6'6" too, and he's a freshman. I would love to bet on a guy like this. He has this like nonchalant kind of body language. It's kind of weird. It's hard to describe. It looks like he's just kind of walking, and then he'll kind of explode to a play. He's kind of an interesting player to watch. I don't know how to describe him. You should go watch some tape, but he looks like he's kind of moving and waiting for the moment, and then he moves. He's interesting. 30% from three, but the jump shot doesn't look too bad. So I don't know. I like him. I like the size. I like the body. He looks like he could be a potential really good defender. Look at that. Defensive win shares, rebounding, blocks. I mean, he's showing all the defensive stuff, and the Jazz need defensive talent. So I'd honestly, if I'm at 10 and he's there, I'd take him, because I think he could play next to Keontae. 6'6" at shooting guard. That's great size at that spot. It's the Michael Jordan size. Michael Jordan, 6'6" at shooting guard from North Carolina. All right, guys, that's all I got tonight. It was just a bummer. Talking through it with you guys is nice. Thank you for being my personal psychiatrist. You guys get me through these losses. All right, let's give a shout out to our All-Stars, our new All-Stars from last game. Nathan, let's give a shout out to Nathan Butnett Burkhart, Dirty Jazz Car Wash Channel, Fly Eagles Fly, Platinum Eagles, The Real Deal, Lars Jarvin, and Ryan Perry, the legend, Just Buckets, JB, Baby Elliot, Matson, Christian, House Money, DeHaas, The Outlaw, Jesse James Nelson, Ezekiel Raicibe, the man from down under. See ya, Alexa later, Built for Tough, Alexander Tufts, Jorge Arrizaga, Mimigo de Abajo, Jordan the Go, Best Roll, TGD, Total Game Domination, Tyson Price, The Price is Right, Austin R, Grant, Editor Extraordinaire, KG10 to TH5, DW to CB, Darren Williams to Carlos Boozer, Patrick Kubo, the Connoisseur, and Robert, Hall of Fame. Guys, if you're a Jazz fan and if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing? Subscribe to the channel. If you're on the podcast, give it a 5-star review. I will talk to you next time, guys.